Hi guys! Welcome sa Zipline. In this video ay magsosolve na naman tayo ng isang math puzzle. No? I think yung iba tawag nila dito ay puzzle kasi medyo nakakalito siya. No? So if you want to solve first before we begin, no, you can pause your video and come back later to see if your answer is correct. Okay, so kung familiar kayo sa order of operations o tinatawag natin na PEMDAS, I think you're familiar with PEMDAS, no? Ang ibig sabihin ng PEMDAS, ito yung ganito yung order, no? Yung unahin yung nasa parentheses, nasa loob ng parentheses, tapos susunod yung exponent, no? Tapos susunod yung multiplication and division, whichever comes first. And susunod yung addition and subtraction, whichever comes first, no? Okay, so dito sa expression na ito, I think we will all agree na unahin natin to kasi division comes before addition and subtraction. No? So magiging 9 minus 3. Ano ang 3 divided by 1/3? 3 divided by 1/3 ay equal to 3 times 3 over 1, di ba? Kunin mo yung reciprocal, di ba, ng fraction pag ikaw ay nagdi-divide. Kukunin mo yung reciprocal ng divisor. Okay? Next, this is 3 can be written as 3 over 1 tapos times 3 over 1. And this is equal to 9 over 1 or simply 9. So magiging 9 minus 9 plus 1. Now this gets a bit tricky, no? Tricky ito kasi marami sa atin dahil sa PEMDAS, akala natin since nauna yung A sa S, uunahin natin yung addition palagi sa subtraction. So marami dyan uunahin yung 9 plus 1 kaya magiging 9 minus 10 yan, which is negative 1, no? But the actual rule ay kung narinig ko kanina, whichever comes first. So, ibig sabihin, from left to right siya. Unahin mo yung nasa kaliwa. At ang nasa kaliwa ay 9 minus 9, so meaning 0 yan, unahin mo yan. And then you add 1. And then 0 plus 1 is 1. So, the correct answer is 1. No? Now, pwede natin gamitan ng Excel, no? If you want, para makita nyo. No? And yung problem natin ay 9 minus 3, no? 9 minus 3. Ito na lang tayo. 9 minus 3. So, pag Excel, lalagyan natin siya ng equal sign. 9 minus 3 divided by, now, ito ang problema natin dito. Yung 1/3, no? Kasi ang iba dyan, ang itatype nila ay 1 tapos 3. Pero dapat yung 1/3 mo ay nakaka-group siya. No? Kasi you're dividing 3 by 1/3. No? And then, is it plus 1? Plus 1, di ba? So, kaya tayo may parenthesis dyan kasi yung 3 ay yung 3 ay dinidivide natin sa 1/3. Pag 3 divided by 1 divided by 3, may iba yung sagot nyo dyan. Okay? So, press natin yung enter. Makikita nyo na the correct answer is 1. No? Okay, so that's it. Sana may natutunan kayo dito sa ating maiksing video. Huwag nyo kalimutan mag-subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like our video and share it with your friends. See you!